Hi, I'm Phyllis from southernfrugal.com. Today we're going to go ahead and fix some of the homemade yogurt. Now I'll have to tell you the little story on this. I fixed this on June the 9th, and everything looked like it was going really well. And so once I took my little yogurt jars out of the cooler, I could see they were still too liquidy, and I thought everything had failed. Now this was after I think 8 hours, and so with nothing else left to do, I went ahead and just put the 2 bottles I had used down in some warm water, let them sit for about an hour. I came back, looked at them, they were a little thicker, so I changed the water and added more warm water to this little pan and set the jars down in it again, went and watched TV for about an hour, came back at about, I guess it was about 11 o'clock then, and voila, I had yogurt. So anyway, this is Michelle's homemade yogurt, and she is a subscriber and was kind enough to send me an email and send me an attachment with this recipe on it. So what I'll do is just kind of read it to you, because I'm going to post maybe the recipe and part of the instructions down in the description, but I'm not sure I'll have enough room to post everything. But anyway, I will share it. So the first thing you'll need is 4 cups. Now I'm making half her recipe, and I'll put her exact recipe down in the description, because she goes ahead and fixes 8 cups of milk. I'm just going to make it in half this time, because this is only my second time. So 4 cups of whole milk. Now you need to make sure you're using whole milk. Make sure it's got a really good date on it. And 3/4 of a cup of non-fat dry milk. And again, this is half of Michelle's recipe. Just trying to find my dried milk was over there. 3/4 of a cup of non-fat dry milk. And then you'll need the yogurt of your choice. Now, because I made it on the 9th of June, I did what Michelle said, and I saved back a cup of it, see? And I put it in the freezer, and then this morning early I took it out and thawed it out, and I did sit it down in a pan of just barely warm water, and it smells like yogurt, but it's a little watery, see, because it's about at room temperature. Okay, so that's really all you need. The milk, 4 cups, is what I'm using. 3/4 of a cup of non-fat dry milk, and then your starter. Now, obviously, the first time you make it, you won't have a starter, so you're going to need to buy some yogurt. And I guess that can just be the yogurt of your choice. In our case, I used the Greek yogurt. I think it's called Choban. I'm not sure the name brand. But all I was looking for, and we'd never tried that before, by the way, was yogurt with these 5 bacteria. And it'll tell you on the label. And I can tell you that, if you can find one that's got all 5 of those bacteria in it, you'll do well, okay? So, you can even do it, Michelle says, with as little as 2 of these. Now, Activia had 2. And we really like the Activia, but this is so much better than Activia. It is. It's just absolutely delicious. So, again, let me show you the bacteria you're looking for. You're going to have to read the label when you go in the store and make sure it's got at least 2 of these. If you get one with all 5, which a lot of Greek yogurts do have all 5, you'll do good. Get a good date on it. Now, I was a little concerned when I bought, I think it's called Choban, one of those. The date, it was going to expire in 4 days, and yet it was the only one in there that had all those 5 bacteria. So I just took a chance and got it, and it worked. So if you can get one with a real good date, it'd probably be even better. All right, so now, because I've already got my starter, which what Michelle says to do is when you make it, just right to start with, as soon as you get through making it, take out a cup, and you can freeze this for the next time you'll use it. So, all right, now I'm going to go ahead and add the 4 cups to my pot. I'm just going to turn my heat on medium. And what we're going to be looking for here is to heat this milk up to 180 degrees. And to do that, I am going to use my meat thermometer. Now, you could use a candy thermometer, but I don't trust my candy thermometer. And I just clip it on the side like that with a clothespin. All right, hold on. I got to get my dogs settled down. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back now. I'll just have to apologize ahead of time if my dogs start barking because I can't seem to control them. I did want to show you what we had made on June the 9th. And I'll take a spoonful out and show you. It's very, very thick. Now this particular one doesn't have any sugar or vanilla or anything in it. We already have eaten the whole jar of the other one, and I did add a little sugar to sweeten, and I also added vanilla. Let me put this back in the refrigerator. Okay, so now we're ready. And the other thing I'm going to do is, last time I stirred it with a whisk. This time I'm going to use my little Martha Stewart thing, which is very old, just so it won't make so much noise while I'm recording. Now, with the milk, you do need to stir it. Once it starts heating up, you do need to stir it to keep it from scorching on the bottom. And what we're doing here is we're going to bring this up to 180 degrees. You don't want it to boil, just to 180 degrees. So, anyway, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to gently stir this because obviously the bottom is going to get hotter than the top, so you do need to stir it. Okay, so here is, I'm just going to read you this. This is 4 pages, but the first 2 pages are the basic instructions. All right, for her recipe, 8 cups of whole milk, 1.5 cups of powdered milk, and she said you can use as little as 1/4 more powdered milk, and that will result in a thicker yogurt. Now I just did her standard recipe cut in half. And you'll need 1 cup of yogurt starter. And she says to see the notes on the starter. And it must, well, excuse me, I've already told y'all wrong earlier. She says it must contain at least 3 of these live active cultures. I had told you 2, so I'm stand corrected. So here they are. Must contain at least 3 of those, not 2 like I'd said earlier, 3 of them. Now, I'd say, you know, your best bet's find a yogurt that's got all 5 of them in it. Okay, and so anyway, here's the yogurt starter that I saved back from the 9th of June where I made it. And we're going to put that in later, but you want to heat your milk up first to 180 degrees. Now, not boiling, okay? All right, so that's the first page of instructions. And this top part, she just tells you the things you'll need. Okay, now here are the instructions. I'm going to go ahead and read those to you. All right, put milk in pot using medium heat. Slowly bring milk temperature to 180 degrees. Occasionally, gently whisk milk to keep milk from scorching or burning on the bottom. As the mixture becomes hotter, you will need to whisk constantly to keep from scorching on the bottom. And then she says, be patient. This stage takes a while, 20 to 30 minutes. Now, I don't think mine will take that long because I'm only, I've halved the recipe. All right, now she says, do not go above 180 degrees or you will kill the needed bacteria for making the yogurt and it will not set properly in the end. All right, just remember that. All right, once your thermometer registers 180 degrees, remove from the heat, allow milk to cool down to 110 to 115 degrees. And this is what she does. She said, I place on a wire rack to cool. Some people place their pot in an ice bath or just cool water to cool down faster. And it seems like when I made it the first time, that's what I did. I think I set it down in the sink of cool water. All right. After the milk has cooled to its new temperature, which would be 110 to 115 degrees, add the powdered milk and whisk gently but thoroughly. Whisking quickly will result in a foamy, unappealing layer on top of the finished yogurt. Next, add yogurt/starter. Again, whisk gently but thoroughly. All right, so we're still, heating ours up. I'm still just gently stirring it. All right, so after you've added the powdered milk and the yogurt starter or the yogurt that you bought, place lid on the pot, wrap a towel and or blanket under, around, and over the pot. At this point, you can use a cooler, if you so choose, to help aid with the incubation process by placing the wrapped pot in the cooler. If you do not use a cooler, place the wrapped pot in a warm area away from drafts and cool air. Wrapping your pot insulates and incubates your fresh yogurt. The purpose is to keep it warm for at least 8 and at most 12 hours in order for it to set. And she says, personally, I use the cooler method. All right, so finally, once the allotted time has passed, your yogurt is done. Do not be alarmed if you find a layer of liquid on top of your yogurt when you uncover. This is absolutely normal. Just pour off the liquid into a bowl. And then she says for a thicker yogurt, more like Greek yogurt, place yogurt in strainer that has been lined with one of the cloth materials listed, like an old t-shirt or something so that you can strain it, letting the liquid drip into the bowl until desired thickness has been achieved. The liquid collected is whey. Whey can be added back into the yogurt if you have strained your yogurt too thick for your liking. Just pour small amounts of whey back into your yogurt and stir. Continue adding and stirring until you have achieved desired thickness. Okay, so that's the first 2 pages of the instructions. Now I'm going to abbreviate that some so I can get it in the description. But then on the back, she gives her notes. There's 2 pages of these. And so anyway, we're going to go ahead and let this get up to 180 degrees. Whoops. And I don't use my candy thermometer because I don't trust it. Actually, you know what? I've got a digital thermometer. Hold on. I'm going to actually use that. Probably be more accurate anyway, but I'm still going to clip it to the pot. All right, so when this gets up to 180 degrees, we'll be back. Okay, we're at 174 degrees now, so it's just not got but about 6 more degrees to go. No, yeah, it's 174. Anyway, I wanted to point out, Michelle says to use like a stainless steel spoon or a regular spoon, I guess, and not to use a wooden spoon. And I'm guessing the reason for that is that the wooden spoon would probably have other bacteria on it. Now, I know that this doesn't because it goes through the dishwasher, so I'm confident that it was okay to use this little spatula. I mean, every time we use it, which is why it's so dark, it goes in the dishwasher. All right, we seem to be stuck at 174 degrees now. I'm going to turn my burner up just a tiny little bit. Make sure my probe's sort of right in the middle. Yeah, once it gets to, I don't know, and now it's down to 169. Okay. I think I needed to turn my burner. This front burner of mine is not my best burner. Adjust that just a little bit. There we go. Okay, now we're back up to 170. So I'm just going to let it sit here a minute. Oh, now it came out. All right, I gotta make this work. There. All right. I'm just gonna double check this with my meat thermometer. Uh-oh, we quickly reached 180. Okay. All right. So now we're going to take it off the burner. I cut the burner off. Yeah, we quickly went up to 180 when I turned that burner up just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go sit this in the sink with the little meat thermometer or probe in there, and I'm going to let it go down to 110 degrees. Now I'm doing that because the bottom of this is a Gordon Ramsay pot, and the bottom's pretty thick, so it'll take it forever to cool off if I don't put it in some cold water in the sink. So once it's cooled down, we'll be back. Okay, that took about 5 minutes in the sink to cool this down to 108 degrees. So I set it back on that burner that's still a little warm. Actually, I'm going to turn it on for a second, just take it up 2 more degrees because I want to do it exact. Oops, y'all can't see. There we go. Won't take but a second just to get it back up to 110 exactly. All right, there we go, 109. All right, we're still waiting for 110. All right, there we go, 110. Okay, so now, we'll put that off the burner there. All right, so now we're ready to put in first the powdered milk. We're going to use a whisk for this. In fact, I think I'm going to use a little small whisk. Okay, I'm going to take my little temperature probe out. All right, so the first thing we want to do is put in 3/4 of a cup of the powdered milk. And again, that's non-fat dry milk. Just dump that in. And Michelle said to just gently stir it here. You don't want to be beating it and get a lot of foam on the top. Didn't take long for that to dissolve. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is put our yogurt starter in. Now, if you don't have a starter, of course, now would be the time you would put your yogurt in. So I'm just going to dump that in, stir that around, get it all out of there. Now, I am using a cup, but she said you could use as little as 1/4 of a cup. And by the way, the yogurt that I got was the vanilla flavored, but that didn't really come through, you know, after I had made the other yogurt several days ago. All right, didn't take long for that to mix up too. Okay, now we're ready to put it in the jars. Now, what she said to do is just take your pot and sit it down in a cooler. And I do have a big cooler, and I've got a little small cooler. And when I first made it, I did the cooler method. But this time, let me get that wiped up there. All right. This time, I'm going to actually use a different method, and I'll show you what that is in just a minute. Make sure that's mixed up really good. And I'm going to pour it into these jars. Now, these are jars, I think, Classico spaghetti sauce came in them. I actually fixed pickles in these last year. So I'm going to use 2 of those because they'll each hold really more than 16 ounces. And it's just easier for me to handle everything when I've got it in a jar. All right, so I'm going to pour this into the jars now. And by the way, the Gordon Ramsay cookware, the reason I like it so much is because you can pour without spilling anything. Probably be a little more than 16 ounces in each jar because I added the 1 cup of the yogurt. Yeah, let's be a little more. Trying to get both jars even. All right, there we are. Now, what I'm going to do is, of course, the jars feel warm. They're not hot, but they're warm. Fix this so you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lids on them, but I'm going to also put some saran wrap over them. And the reason I'm doing that is real simple, because if I don't, they'll smell like spaghetti sauce, because this thing still smells like spaghetti, even though it's been through the dishwasher multiple times. So let me see if I can cut this in two here. All right. So I'm just going to loosely put the lid on them. And now I'm going to move y'all over and show you how I'm going to incubate this. So hold on. Okay, now that I've got the yogurt, we'll call it culture, in the little jars, I've got a heating pad and I've got it set on low. And I'm going to put a pot over this. I'm just putting my little temperature probe in there. And right now it's telling me that on top of this little pad here is 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is just put a pot, and this is a big stock pot, right over there. And I've got a little, well, let me take this off so you can see better. Yeah, so I've got it standing up on some of these little teeny little bowls, because I don't want it to get too hot in there, but I want it to remain warm. So if it gets warmer, like right now it's showing that it's 93 degrees in there, and I think that's good and warm. In fact, it might be a little too warm, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. And if it goes up above that, I'll just cut the heating pad off. See, I've got it on low. I'll just cut the heating pad off and let it sit a while, and then maybe turn it back on. Yeah, because see, now it went up to 95 degrees. So I think maybe I'll take the pot off and just use a big towel. So hold on. Okay, a while ago I don't think it was even recording, so we'll have to go over this again. I took the pot off and placed a towel over it, and I've cut my heating pad off because I don't want it to get too warm. It was measuring 95 degrees, and then it actually went up to 96. So anyway, it's like a really hot summer day, right? So anyway, I've got my heating pad off, and I'll come back in here in an hour or so and see where the temperature is then. Actually, it just went up to 97 degrees. Ooh. Okay. Move that probe. Yeah. All right, so once this is ready, about 8 hours, we'll be back. Hi, we're back. It's been, let me look at the clock, it's been 8.5 hours, and I think we've got yogurt. All right, let me show you the setup. Oh, all right, I'm going to take this off and show you again real good. Okay, so the whole time I have left my heating pad on low. Didn't mean to move the camera so fast. So the heating pad's on low, and I've just got the two jars under there, and I just set them on the, it's actually a pot holder, and I put my little probe right in between the two jars, and it has maintained a 93 degree temperature for the last 8.5 hours. So we have definitely got yogurt, I think, because I actually picked the jar up. See how it's thick? Yeah, it's thick. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is take out 1 cup of the starter, or it will be a starter when I take it out. So hold on, let me put y'all back up here. Okay, turn the camera around. Okay, we'll come a little closer. Y'all don't want to look at the vinegar, I know. All right. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to use, I still can't get that right. There. All right, so I keep little containers like this, and this one was back sometime in March. And what I usually do, if I get a plastic container that's got a lid, we just wash them out, put them through the dishwasher, and put them up in the cabinet. And I use them for various things, like especially I use them when I'm dumping out grease of some kind, then put the lid on it and throw it away so it doesn't get all in the garbage can, you know? But, so I had one of these left. So what I've done is just transferred my little sign telling me this is the yogurt starter. And I started it on June the 9th. And so I'm going to take a cup out, and that way, when I put this in the freezer, Steely, I am recording. Go back in there right now. All three of y'all, go. Sorry, y'all. Anyway, they mess up my train of thought. So I'm going to put 1 cup of the starter in this, and I can put it in the freezer. That way I can recognize immediately what it is, because when I had that little freezer carton, I mean, I got a lot of stuff in my freezer in those little cartons, so I want to be able to recognize it right away. All right, so you definitely can freeze a cup of it and use that as your starter. Now, I wanted to mention one other thing. I made myself a note on here. Yeah, my cost for this, for 32 ounces, can y'all see that? For 32 ounces of yogurt would be about $1.70, and that is if I already have my starter. So really just one time of buying the right yogurt with the, the right things in there would be what you would want to do. Oh wait, I got to give you an update. All right, so I actually, when Michelle sent me this recipe, she also gave me her email address and her phone number. And so I decided I would call her today to get her permission to post her recipe. Anyway, we ended up talking for 25, 30 minutes. I really enjoyed talking with her. She said her daughter watches the videos a lot. And but anyway, I got a lot more information. She had started her making yogurt apparently many years ago, and it helped her too. So anyway, Mr. Bucky came back from the doctor, Dr. Leporos, I hope I say that right, Nicholas Leporos. He's in West Columbia and South Carolina, and he is, I guess, on staff at Lexington Medical Center. It's a big hospital in West Columbia there. And of course, that's where Mr. Bucky was in the hospital. And so anyway, he released him today. His last stool sample showed that he was doing fine. And of course, that was after we had already had some of this particular yogurt. Now, the Activia yogurt worked a little bit, but this worked completely. So everything is normal. He has no further intestinal infection from, eating the bad food. And think how long that was today. It's Mr. Bucky, has it been 2 months today?
I was entered on the 14th.
So you were, yeah, okay. So he got sick on April the 12th. And really sick. He was actually nauseated and everything, I think, the day before. But he got sick, really, really sick, and entered the hospital on April 14th. So it really has been 2 months today. That's how long it took to get over that.
4 days after I ate the...
Yeah, okay, I got it. All right. So anyway, he's talking to me from the den. Hollering is what he's doing. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to get back to the yogurt. Anyway, Michelle gave me permission to show her recipe down below. And what I'll do is just go ahead and show it the basics. I won't have room to put all 4 pages. So anyway, let's dump this out so you can be real impressed, okay? Now, Steely, I'm tired of it. He just will not shut up tonight. It's almost like when I start recording, I almost think sometimes they're just jealous, especially Steely. All right, here it is. Look at this. Can you believe that? All right, so I'm going to take out a cup of it right now. Now, I think this will keep for probably a couple of weeks. Of course, in our house, it's definitely not going to last that long. Okay, I'm making a mess. All right, now, Michelle mentioned about the whey that might get on top of it. Oh, I'm going to have to. Oh, it's delicious. Even without sugar or anything else, it's delicious. Wipe that off. Okay, so I think I've got about a cup in there now. Okay. All right, I'm going to put the lid back on that. And anyway, let me get back to talking with Michelle. She's been so gracious to allow me to go ahead and put this in the description. She certainly wants to share with everybody else too. And hopefully y'all will give it a try now. I've had several comments already that people were waiting to see how this turned out. Now, my experience with it is it's going to get even firmer once I put it in the refrigerator. So, I hope I haven't left anything out. So anyway, now I didn't, again, there's no whey on the top of this, and the other that I made, let me see, I've still got some, hold on. This is what I made on June the 9th, and you see it's really good and firm. Of course, it's been in the refrigerator. We'll probably finish that off in the next couple of days. Let me put it back in the refrigerator. Okay, and I'll have to tell you, I am almost as excited about this as I was about my Vitamix, and we all know how that went. So anyway, I don't think I've got quite a cup in there. I'm going to have to put a little more in there because this is a 16-ounce container. And it's only up to right there, and I definitely want a cup. So let me get some more. I wish I could pour it out a little bit. Let me see if I can pour it out a little bit. A little bit, yeah. If you shake it really hard, you can get some of it out. Okay, all right. Of course, we're going to eat some of this tonight. You should know, right? I've got some strawberries in the refrigerator, left over from what I didn't freeze. I had, let's see, 16 pounds of strawberries I froze, and I did keep one of them out. All right, so now we got a cup. This is going to be a long video, y'all. All right, so what I wanted to do, I'll go ahead and list this as much as I can get in the description. Now, here's what happened with me. The heating pad worked, but I think almost anything would work. Now, Michelle said you don't really want the heat to be above like 120 degrees maybe, but apparently these like to be in at 93 degrees all day long. So I guess I'll just stick with this plan because first of all, it's easy. I don't have to have the cooler, you know, out in my kitchen, and I kind of push it over out of the way, and I just leave this little heating pad on low. And I don't know if all heating pads would keep this exactly 93 degrees. Excuse me. But I've got it. Here's the heating pad. All right, let me get one you can see. Here's the heating pad. Pull it out a little bit. And then this is just a little metal rack because I didn't want to sit the jars directly on the heating pad. And then I put a little pot holder there. Put the two jars. I just used two of those little mason jars, and this was Classico Italian dressing or something. These jars I actually made pickles in last year. I have a whole bunch of these jars. I don't like can or anything, but I just keep them for things like this. And then I just covered it up with just a regular kitchen towel, had it over on the counter and then I put, now this little digital little temperature gauge came from Walmart. I think it was $29, but I can tell you it's worth it because it gives me an accurate temperature reading in there. And I do think these particular bacteria definitely liked the 93 degrees. I didn't really check it until I guess about 7:30, and I didn't want to pick the jar up and move it around, till 8 hours had gone by. But I think it was probably already ready. My guess is it really got ready in about 6.5, 7 hours maybe. But anyway, all right, so I want to just read you what Michelle wrote, because I won't be able to put this in the description. So these are her notes. She said, all right, the starter, the 1/4 to 1 cup of yogurt. This can be store-bought or reserve homemade. You use to create a batch of fresh homemade yogurt. So that's what the starter is, and that's what this is. And always, every time you make it, you want to save another starter. It almost reminds me of the way you make sourdough bread and get your starter going, but this is for yogurt. Okay, and so she says, for the initial or replacer yogurt / starter, I use Stonyfield Organic Greek plain non-fat yogurt because it contains 5 beneficial bacteria. Any brand will do as long as you have the necessary bacteria. And again, at the first part of this tape, I made the mistake and said you only needed 2, but she says you need at least 3. But if I were you making this, I would go ahead and find me some Greek yogurt that had all 5 in them. You might as well just get them all while you're there, And so also, to use your homemade starter, you remove it from the freezer and let it thaw at room temperature or in the refrigerator overnight. Do not thaw in the oven or the stove top or the microwave, because you would be killing the bacteria if you did that. Now what I did with mine is I took it out early this morning, and it had thawed out partially, and I just sit it down in my little plastic container in a little dishpan of warm water, not hot, just warm, and I'd say within 30 minutes it had completely thawed out. Okay. All right, so the whey is highly nutritious, packing a powerful punch of protein. Whey is often used as a protein supplement, sold in stores, and it can be expensive. Now, I don't have any whey on mine, and I don't know why I don't, but I'm glad I don't. And that means everything's still in there. All the protein and everything is still in there. And the other one I made on June the 9th doesn't have any, I haven't seen any. Trying to see if this one has a little bit. No, it doesn't even have a little bit, see? So, all right, I'm so excited about this. I really am, because it is so delicious. Now, I think that you can sweeten it with whatever you want, really. Now, the other night we sweetened some with some maple syrup, and it was delicious, absolutely delicious. And I was trying to think, I used some sugar and vanilla in one, when we had it with the strawberries, and that was delicious. So anyway, all right, so I'm just kind of skipping over this. She says you can use it just like regular yogurt, like you'd use any yogurt. And then she says you can transform yogurt into sour cream by adding lemon juice. Now, I'll have to tell you, in the 1950s, my mother used to fix what she called, this is going to be a long video, what she called whipped cream. She called it whipped cream. And she must have seen this recipe on the back of a carnation cream can or something. But you put the carnation cream in a cup. She usually just used a measuring cup. Put about 3/4 of a cup of just carnation evaporated milk. And then she would squeeze the juice of about half a lemon in there and kind of beat it up and let it sit for a minute. And I was trying to remember what we would put that. She would put it over different things, like if we had, say, apple pie, she put a spoonful over that or something like that. Anyway, I remember that, my mother doing that. So anyway, you can do that with this yogurt. And you can also use it as a base for salad dressing and dips, to lighten mayo dishes by replacing some of the mayo or all of it with the yogurt, which I like. I've actually put sour cream on bread instead of mayonnaise before, so this would work great. And she said it can be used as a deep conditioner for dry hair / ends. And she says for females, routine consumption of yogurt significantly helps prevent yeast infections. It is more useful than you realize. And again, she said, again, do some research on that. And you can adjust this recipe to suit your needs. Cut the recipe in half, which is what I did, or double or triple any amount you cannot use within 2 weeks. Give or take what you cannot use for 2 weeks, give or take a few days, can be frozen. So, in other words, if we didn't use all this, we could just freeze it and then thaw it out. It would still be good to go. All right, let me read the rest of it. All right. In the event that you decide to decrease the recipe, I would still use 1 cup of yogurt starter, which is exactly what I did, because the ultimate goal is to colonize your fresh yogurt with as much of the beneficial bacteria as possible. If you so choose to increase this recipe, I would also increase the yogurt starter according to the original recipe. This is my personal advice. However, work with this recipe as you see fit. She's such a nice person, and she even writes really nice. All right, so anyway, this recipe produces unsweetened, plain, mostly unflavored, it's just slightly acidic, yogurt product. Any sweetener or flavoring should be added after you remove the 1 cup of starter. So the first thing you want to do is take out 1 cup of the starter, because you're going to use that next time you make it. All right, and so if you wanted to strain it off to make it even thicker, now I don't think I'd want it any thicker than this, but if you wanted it thicker like this, some of that Greek yogurt, I mean, it's really, really thick. I don't like it that thick, but anyway, some people do. She said you can use t-shirt material as a liner for a strainer, and the whey liquid will drip through, and then you'll have the thicker yogurt. And she goes on with other things on there. Anyway, she said, I have made yogurt several ways, including cooler method, crock pot method, and I did look at one of those on YouTube today. I think, to me, my crock pot would be, I believe it would get too hot. I wouldn't want to do it that way. Mason jar above refrigerator method. Now, I can see why people would do that. I'm just leaning over on the counter so I don't have to raise my camera. Because your refrigerator expels the heat usually through the top, and your freezer will do the same thing. Now, I start plants on the top of my refrigerator. I mean, in the early, really late winter, like in February, it works great. And I also do them on the top of my freezer. But in the summertime, my freezer, particularly over on this side of the kitchen, throws its heat out on the side, not the top. Because that's what I was thinking I was going to do, but that wouldn't work in the summertime, and it'd probably work in the winter. But anyway, she's saying some people do it with that method. Your whole motive is to keep it warm to a certain temperature, and not let it hit any drafts or anything. Now, like right now, we have, of course, the air conditioner's on, and it's sitting on 73. But back here in the den and the kitchen, because the thermostat's in the foyer, it's probably about, I'd say it's maybe even 70 degrees, maybe cooler, because where the cooling unit is on that side of the house, the ductwork is here first. So, I think that would, it needs to be warmer than just room temperature is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. The longer your yogurt is stored in the refrigerator and becomes older, the more acidic it will taste, as does commercial yogurt. So I did notice, of course, I just tasted this. It's not all that acidic at all, but I just don't think that we will have any go to waste, let me put it that way, because I will definitely be using it in smoothies. Now, Mr. Bucky certainly is going to still want his peanut butter on occasion. So I'm thinking doing it maybe half and half, one day use the yogurt and one day the peanut butter, that kind of thing. We'll see how that works out. But the one I fixed this morning and put the yogurt in, was the peaches and cream, was out of this world good. It really was. All right, so that's all I've got on this. I will just post this little part of the recipe. I'm not going to put all this in because I don't think I'll have room, but she's just telling you up here the items that you will need. You know what? Why don't I just see if I can, I don't know how well this will show up. but I'll just show you this part right up here. Yeah, the items that you might need. And then here's the recipe, which I will list, and we'll also list those bacteria so you'll have that. And these are the instructions. Now I'm going to simplify those a little bit and not put all the reasons why and all that kind of stuff in there, just to be able to make it shorter. But I did read that to y'all on the first part of this. Now, that 8 to 12 hours, I think that, you know, if you use a different method, like I certainly used a different method using the heating pad, and I do think mine would have been ready probably in, for sure, in 7 hours, just because it had that constant temperature. And see, I've taken the towel off of it now, and see that temperature's dropped to 84. So that you definitely need to put a towel or something over them. Okay, I don't know, I think that might be it. Turn my camera back around. All right, if I had a camera person who could go around and film and I wouldn't have to do anything with the camera, that would be so wonderful. But Mr. Bucky, he tried that when I first started doing videos, and some of my videos are long, like the one for the lemon cake. I think he might have done that one. His hand goes to sleep holding that little camera up for so long. So anyway, so that's about it. I hope that y'all will try this. Oh, leave me messages or comments below and tell me if you try this. Now, when I tried it the first time, which was June the 9th, and I did record part of it, but then when it failed, I thought, oh, I did something wrong. And of course, I deleted the video, you know, off my camera, because I thought, well, I can't show anybody this. It's not even, it didn't even make. But then when I put it down in the warm water, 2 hours later, it did make. Anyway, we will see y'all next time, okay?